Bill Bratton, the former NYPD commissioner. And Bill, I'm not saying anything profound when I talk about time, and you never know when your life will end. A lot of policemen, firemen, they know that. They know that's a risk every time they leave their home in the morning and kiss their spouse goodbye and their kids goodbye, with the risk that they might not come home. I think about last week at this time, he was alive and well, probably enjoying his one-year-old son and a beautiful marriage and a beautiful life, not knowing that on Monday it would all end. But it keeps happening, Bill. This kind of stuff keeps happening. What do you make of it?
Well, I've been associated with policing for over 50 years now, and you're correct. It keeps happening. Every year, dozens of police officers are murdered in the line of duty, similar to the young officer who's being buried today. President Trump talked about, former President Trump talked about more needs to be done. No specifics. Many politicians talk a lot about this issue, but not much is being done when so much could be. I just hope that the national attention that is being focused on this particular murder of this police officer might begin a tipping point in this recognition that while we are talking about crime maybe being down across the country, statistics don't necessarily always tell the story. There is a great fear, there is a great perception of crime in this country, and politicians need to wake up to that. They can't take comfort in the fact that the numbers are down in some cities, they're up in many other cities. New York City is a case in point. There is a great fear in that city now, in its subway system, on its streets, random attacks on women walking down the street, stabbings. It is a crisis that is not being adequately addressed by either party at the moment. And I hope this funeral, this solemn funeral this morning, this inspector's funeral, there's so much tradition that goes into these funerals, that it effectively generates more attention in this national campaign year to this issue. The time to do something about this problem is now. And now is the time that politicians on both sides need to come up with some specific plans and ideas that can be embraced by both parties. Because America right now is in fear. I don't care what the politicians are saying. You talk to anybody and they're concerned about crime and public safety, and the statistics really don't mean anything to them.
No, you said that very eloquently, Bill. I also think, I mean, sadly, you and I have covered and chatted prior funerals like this, but this seems a special case, like it hit a nerve point, and maybe the combination of what's been going on in New York with all these reportings of people who are shoved on to subway tracks and the rest, and you get a view that these are anomalies, but there are a lot of these anomalies, and the timing of this, and the crowds, particularly here, they must be saying something. They must be, when you look at the needlessness of all of this, that the assailant had 21 prior arrests. And you get New York Mayor Eric Adams to say this recidivism, this repeated offender issue has to be addressed. And then he gets reamed for saying something like that is too tough on crime. I just wonder what came together here, because I think both sides, you talk about Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, and liberals, they would readily acknowledge, I think, that someone who has 21 prior arrests keeps getting out. That's a problem.
It's a major problem. The death of this young officer is, in some respects, an inflection point, because the momentum of fear of crime and disorder in New York City and many other cities around America has been building. It leads the news stories every night. It's on the front page of most of the papers every day. And this horrific event, this horrific murder, coming on top of many other incidents in New York, that it has effectively provided a catalyst in which there is now going to be a renewed debate at a perfect time. We're in the midst of a national election. This issue is going to have to be resolved starting nationally, as it was in 1994 with the passage of the crime bill. I was present in the Rose Garden when that bill was signed. I was police commissioner in Boston initially, then police commissioner in New York. And I understood the significance of that national coming together. I lobbied Newt Gingrich. I lobbied then Senator Biden. I worked with President Clinton and major American police chiefs to get that bill passed, 100,000 additional police officers, a ban on assault weapons, a lot more laws to try and protect women, and the building of more prisons. And there's been a great hue and cry about the negative effect of building those prisons. Well, I'm sorry, there are a lot of criminals in 1994, and the only way to keep the public safe was to put men in jail.
Well said, Bill. Well said. Thank you very much. We can go back and forth on these polarizing political issues. It will do little good to bring back 31-year-old Jonathan Diller, who, as I stressed a week ago, probably would have never envisioned this, or the thousands from all over the country who would be there for this. He was alive, he was well, he was happy, he was a proud policeman, and now he's gone.